All right. You said at some point Derek and Terrell went to jail? Yeah, like in 2001, they went to jail. I know Terrell went to trial and got found guilty, so they never let him back on the street. But dumping them, they were still out there. Okay. Would the police come around Josephine Street a fair amount? Yeah, they come, but not much. But the way it was set up, Josephine, it's from the area we be in, from like Simon Boulevard, then you got Saratoga, and then you got Daniel Street. So it's like a 3-block span. And you got guys like, you had the Hankton stay right here between Simon Boulevard and Saratoga, still right there. Then you had other people like Darnell Stewart, they stood between Saratoga and Daniel. So from that area, the people sitting out there, if they see a police car, they're going to holler heads up at one time. That will give everybody down there time enough to go in the alley or stop doing what they were doing until the police pass. You know what I'm saying? And what would you guys do when the police would come by? We sit on a porch or go in the alley or just do whatever to like make it like we ain't selling no drugs or stand on the sidewalk or like that. Would you guys keep firearms with you? Guns? Yeah. Who would have those? Really depends. Sometimes people take turns holding guns. So like, say some people have multiple convictions. So if they have a lot of convictions, they don't want to hold a gun because if they get caught with a gun, they know for sure they're going to do time or whatever. So they might have, say, a person like me. I'm younger. I had no convictions or whatever. I will hold a gun, you know, sit on a porch or be in an alleyway. So in case somebody come around there trying to rob people or shooting, different things like that. When you got out of juvenile, you said George hooked you up with some crack. Did he hook you up with any firearms? Yeah, he gave me a gun. When I first gone, he gave me a hot .9. He was just like, man, you got a gun? I'm like, no. He said, look, man, you tripping out here. You got to get you a gun in case somebody try to rob you, strong arm you. You know, I was 16 when I come home, so kind of young. He like, man, you got to have that in case somebody play with you or whatever. You can handle your business. You know what I'm saying? Was it safe to say he was helping you kind of see what you needed to do? Saying like, keep a gun because if somebody rob you or strong arm you or try to take you from you by force, you know what I'm saying? You got to have a gun to handle your business. Shooting, killing, whatever you have to do to make sure they don't take your shit. At some point in time, did you start buying more drugs from George? I continued to buy drugs off him up until like 2005. But like sometimes I might go to jail for one day, bond out. I went to jail for juvenile in between like June, got out in August, like 30 days. So whenever I get out though, he stayed right down the street from my house. So whenever I come home, we go back and we do it again. You know what I'm saying? Same process. And you said that you got to the point where you were buying about 1/4 of a kilo or getting 1/4 of a kilo of crack? Right. Was George always providing that to you? The 1/4 kilo? Yes. When I was getting 1/4 kilo, I had started messing with Telly. That was like around 2006. Because when I went to George, he like, man, I gotta wait on Telly to come around here. So what does that mean? You went to George for what? I went to George? Oh, when I asked him for the 1/4 key, and from there he couldn't do it like that. You know what I'm saying? Which means what? He didn't have enough weight to do that, to give me that much credit, because I'm spending $5,000 with him. He didn't want to give me the other $5,000 because he's like, he didn't have it to afford to lose. So the main thing, like, they ain't gonna give you nothing they feel they can't take a loss with. Okay, so you know, if you mess it up, then they know they will never get their money. So George couldn't do it. So he like, man, then I went to Telly. So when I went to Telly, he fronted it to me. So did that cause a problem if you stopped going to George and went to Telly, or no? No, not really, because it was all the same drug. I'm saying the same drugs because you got George, he got drugs, but he sell what he sell. But when you go to Telly, it's the same thing. They seem like they work together. So when I go to Telly, it wasn't no problem because when I went and picked drugs up from Telly, he was sitting on George's porch. So it ain't like he said nothing to nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. Where was George's porch? Jackson. Between Daniel and Saratoga on Jackson Street. How many blocks approximately was that from Josephine Street? 1. Okay. so close by. How many times did you directly buy drugs from Telly? 4 times. The only reason why I remember because it was 2006. I was home like 6 to 8 days after Katrina, so that's when I really was dealing with him. Okay, how were you able to afford to buy such or get such large quantities? When I came home, like our house got burned down during Katrina or whatever, it caught fire. So my mama had fire insurance and stuff like that. So she had like $3,500 for me because I lost all my clothes, shoes, and everything. So when I come home, she had the money for me. Instead of me buying clothes and stuff, I went and bought more drugs to get started. And my pa gave me a little money to put with it. And so you said 4 times. When you got drugs from Telly those 4 times, what quantities were you getting? I went in with the 5,000. I'm like, look man, I got 5,000. You know what I'm saying? Go on, front me the other quarter kilo or whatever it is. I'm going to make sure I pay you the money. You know what I'm saying? As soon as I make the 5,000 I owe you, I'm going to give it to you. And did he end up giving you? Yeah, he gave it to me. So did you end up getting an entire half a kilo? Yeah, a whole kilo, half a kilo. When you went to Telly on that first occasion, did you go directly to Telly or did you? No, P-Dub, Pee-wee. He's dead now, Terrell Jackson. We called him P-Dub. That would be P-D-U-B? You don't know? P-Dub, like P-E-A. Okay. And then Pee-wee? Yeah, we call him Pee-wee too. Okay. So you went to him first. And where was he when you went to him? P-Dub? He was on Josephine Street. He used to sit like right there by, you had, I think, Telly Hankton stay right there and Judy Hankton stay right there. Judy and Cheryl were staying in the house, so I don't know exactly whose name was on the rent or whatever. Okay. And why did you go to him? Because I asked him where Telly at. He ain't out right now. I'm like, man, call him and tell him I'm trying to get a quarter key or whatever. I'm like, but holler at him and let him know I'm trying to get it from him. You know what I'm saying? See if he's going to do it for me. So why would you go to P-Dub too? Because I ain't have a direct number on Telly. Like when he went outside. So usually if he outside, you can go straight up to him or whatever. But when he ain't in sight or whatever, if you call one of them, ask them, they're going to call him and they're going to let him know what's up and set it up or whatever and tell them to come around there. So who were the individuals that you would go to in order to get in touch with Telly? They had one dude named Bo. Dump. I went to P-Dub and George Jackson, Nakia. Really, any one of them you going to call and ask them to look for him. They're going to call and they're going to let you know if he around there or if he come around at what time or whatnot or whatever. Okay. And did that chain of communication usually work pretty well? Yeah. Alright. So the first time you went to P-Dub, and how long did it take for you to get off of that amount of half a kilo? I did that in like 3 days. But I wound up going to jail. It was in 2006 I went to jail because I got out like March 21st or something. And I got the drugs. I paid them, you know what I'm saying? His half, his 5,000. And then I wound up going to jail and messing around with some heroin. Got caught in the house, whatever. I did like 30 days. Then I got back out. Did you pay him the other 5,000 you owed him? I ain't owe him another 5,000. The first 5,000 was mine. I just wanted to pay him his 5,000 so I wouldn't be indebted to him. Got it. And then did you buy from him again? Yeah, when I came home, I went back to selling. Okay. And who did you have to go to? Did you go directly to him or no? Dump. He went outside. Like, he don't really be outside in the daytime like that. You know, if he be outside, you got to be outside like 2, 3 in the morning, 1 in the morning. He be out there around that time. But you know, whatever. I need drugs and I'm trying to get mine now. I'm going to go to them, ask them where he at or whatever. They're going to call him and then he going to come out there. And when he come out there, you're going to see him down the street or they're going to come tell you right out there. Okay. So who did you go to the second time? Dump. Dump? Yeah. All right. Then if I can, when you get the drugs from Telly the first time, Was that on George's porch or the first time with P-Dub? No, it was on Josephine. Okay, how does that work? Does Telly bring it directly to you? Well, he go by one of his auntie's house. Well, it depends on the time. After the storm, they were staying right there next to each other on, I think it's 2004 and 2006 Josephine Street. And which auntie was that, do you remember? Judy Hankton and Cheryl was living in one house after the storm, and his cousin Stacy Hankton was staying next door, like a double duplex that he was staying right there. That's all the porch we all used to be on. So you went to one of those houses to get the drugs? Yeah, when I came down there. When he came out there, P-Dub like called me down the street or whatever, like, man, Red down here. You better come around the corner. Be right there. See, they said it because when he come around there with the drugs, he don't want to be sitting out there waiting with the drugs. The police could come, anything. So he wants you to be right there, so as soon as he come, you get your drugs and go on by your way or whatever. And you mentioned Red. Is that a nickname? Red. He go by Third, Red, Wild Bill, sometimes different names.